Welcome to the ICU, where inner consciousness is unraveled and the intentionally competent you refuses to spiritualize what must be faced. Here in the ICU, we don't rant, we reframe. We engage in critical thought. Does that frighten you? Well, I ask all, don't be, because I'm here, still reluctant, still seated across from Uncle Donald, and now across from centuries of systemic denial, historical mutilation, and unatoned violence. I sit across from every myth that dares to decorate genocide with flags. This is not armchair therapy. This is ancestral reckoning. Today, in the ICU, we bring you a special Juneteenth episode. And this episode is titled Unerased, the reckoning we cannot bypass. A Juneteenth transmission. And this transmission is for truth, for trauma, and for total liberation. This episode is not a celebration. It is a confrontation. It is the sound of breath returning to the bodies that history tried to erase. It is not comfort food. It is ancestral reckoning, soul excavation, and a rebuke of national amnesia. Let's begin. When we tune into conversations, right, in today's connected society, there are some with loud voices questioning, nah, not really, doubting generational trauma and its impact in present times. They, the unenlightened, ask questions such as, why are we still talking about slavery? Those questions that most of you have heard. Yes, we are going there. To those who ask, it's been centuries. Why does slavery still impact us? Let me start by responding to them. I'll say this to you. Why do we still talk about slavery? Because trauma doesn't expire. It mutates. Slavery was never forced labor. Slavery was identity theft on a global scale. Slavery was familial dismemberment, programming suspicion amongst ourselves till date. Slavery was spiritual erasure. Slavery was systematic dehumanization. Slavery is a global campaign of memory destruction. You think we're carrying wounds? Nah. We are carrying orphaned spirits. But before we delve into this historical deep dive, let's examine some historical data. Let's make some comparisons, and we see the value that is attached to one thing over another. Let's examine the Holocaust versus the Ma'afa, the sacred distinction that we make in the ICU. But to start this, I want to begin by stating unequivocally that for us to move forward, we must honor the dead truthfully. And I repeat, truthfully. This truth starts with rendering perspective on facts we can validate. The Holocaust was a catastrophic genocide. Nobody denies that, and nobody will ever deny that. Yet, Jewish identity, as we have been made to know it in current times, for the most part, remained intact. Some may have sought to mask it for survival and instinctive purposes only. I agree. Yet, Jewish names are preserved. Jewish lineages are known. Jewish rituals are protected. Jewish memory are institutionalized. Let's contrast that with the transatlantic slave trade. Tribes have been erased and lost forever. Languages banned. Names were stripped. Rituals criminalized. Entire histories burned on ships and auction blocks, just to name a few. I highlight these to make your intellect aware of the fact that you cannot compare trauma to random. However, you must compare their impact. And the impact of slavery. This is not my opinion. The impact of slavery continues to be felt and will until we collectively take steps to not only accept that fact, but be intentional in mitigating its impact on our society. One core impact of slavery was the global manufacturing of identity amnesia. History informs us, however, that how did we get here? From reading peer-reviewed historical facts, right? We take, for instance, King Leopold's Congo and the template for Western savagery. These are some of the forgotten atrocities that the world doesn't even talk about. The Congo Free State. Under King Leopold II of Belgium, over 10 million Africans were mutilated or murdered. Children's hands were cut off because they didn't meet certain quotas or criteria. Villages were razed. Labor extracted under threat of death. Whiteness weaponized through economic empire and religious deceit. That's just to name a few items. What Leopold did wasn't an exception. It was a one-off. It was a template for the modern Western psyche. And that psyche goes as such. Let's mask savagery in civility. Let's label the raped as the rescued. Let's kill and just call it commerce. This is not simply history. This is a blueprint. And America inherited that blueprint. And what did that do? It gave us Uncle Donald and the return of othering as leadership. Do you want to understand why Trump still holds power? Is that a question that comes to your mind as you see our world in its current state? I tell you this because his strategy was never about governance. Is never about governance. Will never be about governance. His strategy is about reawakening white identity panic. He, Uncle Donald, took the oath twice, as I've stated before, as a symbol of the supremacy myth restored. He empowers damaged ego personalities to kill in his name or for some lost identity they perceive. He legitimizes racist pseudoscience through silence and smirks. He offers young blonde figureheads as mouthpieces to regurgitate propaganda that I doubt even they believe in. He mocks truth tellers and seeks to erase black pain while glorifying Confederate nostalgia. He rallies people, not out of political gain. His rallies were ancestral reactivations. ceremonies of denial, delusion, and domination. And this, I tell you, is witnessed across a lost nation through policies and fostered agendas. And those agendas get demonstrated in what form? Like here in Virginia, what happened? Parents protesting about curriculums that some of them don't even understand. Books are being banned. We have wars on curriculum. And we have the psychosis of denial. This is what this is. I posit these to you. So to those who think this is the way, let me ask you this, or let me present this to you as a way of you thinking critically. If your lineage watched lynchings as picnics, if your lineage called Native Americans and Africans as savages and did things to be able to civilize them, if your lineage dismembered black fathers to kill legacies for sport, for entertainment, if your lineage raped black mothers, then blamed them, if your lineage, claiming to be pure, enacted or took actions to taint African genes, Native American genes, if your lineage created eugenics theories to justify genocide, then yes, Juneteenth must really disturb you. And what do fragile ancestral egos do with disturbance? They ban books. They criminalize the curriculum. They cry reverse racism, fighting equity policies. They criminalize DEI without you even understanding what that means. They rename oppression as patriotism. But I want you to know this fact. Just simply because you try to deny a crime doesn't mean that that crime didn't exist or it didn't occur. So understand that denying a crime does not erase that crime. Instead, it deepens the psychosis, which in turn creates barriers for growth and healing. And I put this to you to get to this point. Equity isn't reverse racism. Equity is some step, some semblance of arriving at a reparation. Equity programs have never been and will never be favors. They are unfinished justice. But what do fragile egos say? Oh, that wasn't me. Oh, slavery is over. It's been over a long time. Well, I personally never owned anyone. I have black friends. And so I pose these questions to all your fragile egos. Did your melanin look ever deny you a job that your qualifications already secured? Did your bank account inherit the privilege? Did your neighborhood inherit the zoning laws? Did your last name inherit the generational silence? I present this to you, so you should know this. All your fragile egos, you inherited more than money. You inherited memory. And it doesn't matter even if you refuse to feel it. You inherited it. That said, here in the ICU, we practice inner authority for higher living. So this week, we engage in the reckoning ritual. And what that entails is that we speak the evil fully. Say it aloud. Let's speak that evil fully from the loudest pulpit. My ancestors watched lynchings and called it community. Accept it. Own it. My lineage benefited from rape and rebranding. My comfort was built on others' silence. Own it. And what that does, it helps you. It helps you name what was lost. It helps us now name what was lost. It helps the community name what was lost. So I ask you to say these. Say them out loud. We lost names. We lost gods. We lost languages. We lost maps. We lost time. We lost belonging. And all these losses lead us to what? How do we get from that stage to move forward? We begin with atonement. Whether white, black, or descendant of both, speak this loudly. I no longer deny the devastation. I no longer decorate the dungeon. I no longer spiritualize erasure. And collectively, we can make Juneteenth a personal reckoning day. Not for barbecues, for truth telling. Because that's the only way we move forward. We can light a candle for the unrecorded names. We can write a letter to an erased ancestor. We can commit to learning what your curriculum avoided. What forces are out there trying to prevent you from knowing the truth? As bitter, as raw, as exposed as that truth is. Say this. I will not let this cycle continue in my silence. I will stand up. I will speak truth to power. And let me say this clearly to you in closing. Juneteenth is not just a date. Juneteenth is a demand for memory, for mourning, for mass accountability. Until we accept that evil was committed and we live inside its echoes, we will never be free. And if we refuse to reckon, we will rebuild the same horrors, just better branded this time. We're all witnesses to this. Juneteenth says we are unerased. You must face us. And this reckoning is not optional. Revel in this. Let it have some impact in your life. Help you get to that place, inner authority, where you leverage personal internal controls for a higher living. Thank you for joining me for this special episode in the ICU. Next week on the ICU, we'll come back to episode 3, The Fatherless Nation, Why We Confuse Control with Love. Until then, remember to always carry what serves you, release what doesn't, and keep walking forward with your ancestors at your back and your inner compass ahead as your guiding staff. May you diagnose wisely, resist kindly, and reimagine boldly. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, engage. Always, always remember to breathe. And always send love to your nervous system. Thank you. ICU.
What must be faced cannot be